Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, and tonight we're going to talk about WWE Fastlane, March 5th, 2017. Tonight we got Wrestling Inc.'s own Raj Giri here, and Mr. Matt Morgan is not here tonight, which Raj will explain in a second, but we've got returning to the show, Dennis Farrell. Great to see you guys. A lot to talk about with Fastlane, but Raj, before we dive into that, why don't you give everyone an update on what's going on with Mr. Matt Morgan, the story that Wrestling Inc. had the exclusive on this
Right.
week.
Well, as you guys heard, Matt talk about last week, he was returning to the ring very soon, and it's for Impact Wrestling. So he is at the tapings this weekend. He's there tonight, and he worked a match. Sorry, 1 second. And he worked a match tonight. The Impact spoilers are up on the site, so you can check them out. But he should be joining us tomorrow.
Awesome. Have all sorts of questions for him then. That being said, the pay-per-view was called Fastlane. Ironically, it moved at a very slow pace, somewhat difficult to watch at parts, with an ending there that I think has frustrated the vast majority of the WWE Universe. Raj, should we even go with high-level thoughts, or should we just jump into the show?
Yeah, let's just jump into it. I didn't hate it as much as people online did. I just thought it was just there, but we'll get into it.
So let's start with the bright spot on the pre-show. The pre-show, which was an hour long and featured one wrestling match. That match was Rich Swann and Akira Tozawa versus Brian Kendrick and Noam Dar. I thought this was a great showcase of the cruiserweights. Showed that, hey, when we start with the ropes purple, the audience is ready to be entertained. Let these guys go out there and put on a show. It had a nice energy, and I thought it was a great kickoff to a show that was unnecessarily long. Dennis, your thoughts?
I came in at the Rich Swann match, and the one thing that took it all away from me is Rich Swann reminds me of some sort of stalker. The look at the end that he gave, where he's like kind of has his tongue out and he's swaying back and forth. I thought, man, if this guy ever turned heel, he'd be an amazing heel. He just had this weird, creepy, like, hey, I know you broke up with me last week, but I'm outside your window right now. Look, I think he'd be a great heel.
I agree. That actually, I noticed that too. Like at the end when he was celebrating, and Tozawa was kind of hugging him and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was just giving this really creepy look to the camera. So I noticed that as well. But I thought the match was good. For a pre-show match, I thought it was really good.
Thought I had a great energy. In fact, I would say that from that match up through Nia versus Sasha, I thought, so that and then the first three on the main Fastlane pay-per-view itself, there was a great momentum. Thought things moved along at a very nice pace, starting with the official first match of the show, messing this up here. Samoa Joe versus Sami Zayn. So Raj, what did you think of this? We predicted this was going to be the outcome with Samoa Joe destroying Sami Zayn, but what did you think of the match they put on?
I thought it was good. I didn't think it was the squash that, I probably would have booked it as. I feel like you really need Joe to look really strong early on, but it was a good match. And yeah, Joe got the win clean. It makes sense. Earlier on the pre-show, he said his plans for WrestleMania will be revealed really soon.
Oh, interesting. Seeing this tonight, I would really like to watch these guys work a longer storyline, but I think they might have bigger plans in mind for Joe at WrestleMania.
Look, sorry to jump in. This match for card placement was amazing. They hit a home run coming right out of the gate with this match. I'm sorry, Raj, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
go ahead.
This was an amazing opening match. And to me, it had the spot of the night with the small package where, Zayn looked out of it, fell over. You had Samoa Joe have this disgust look like, really, you fell over? I couldn't do my move. He came over to get him, and boom, Zayn put him in a small package. I thought that was phenomenal. At the end, I think both guys came out looking strong in this match. This was one of those matches where Sami Zayn lost and still looked good in.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought he didn't. It didn't hurt Sammy losing here.
Oh, not at all.
And then it was a good match. Joe looked good.
It's the beauty of Sammy being such an underdog, is that I don't think losing ever really hurts him, as long as he comes back and retains that spirit. Want to remind everyone before we go further, we'll talk about it more later in the episode, but this Fastlane recap episode of Wrestling Inc. is brought to you by WWE SLAM Crate, powered by Loot Crate. Tag into a bi-monthly box for the WWE Universe, loaded with exclusive and authentic collectibles, plus apparel you can't get anywhere else. Save $3 off your first box at lootcrate.com/WrestlingINC when you sign up and use the coupon code WrestlingINC. That's lootcrate.com/WrestlingINC. Yeah, man, I would love to see Joe and Sammy continue this storyline. I'm sure for Joe they'll have something great. I hope for Sammy there's something equally good, but I thought this was a really strong match to start off on, and liked the angle with it in keeping it open, where I think they can always pair them back up in a storyline at any point if it doesn't continue. Let's talk about the Raw Tag Team title match. Enzo and Big Cass versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Now, Dennis, what did you think of this? I mean, Gallows and Anderson retained. What did you think of the match itself, and specifically that ending the way they did it?
I was happy with it. I was very shocked at how crazy it was that the Milwaukee crowd was rooted back in with Enzo and Cass after last week, where people were thanking. I forgot who super kicked him in the face. I think it was Rusev. No, it was Sheamus. 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So, it seems like Milwaukee, if they can come out to Milwaukee every time, they're going to stay together forever. But it was great. Listen, Cass does not look good bouncing around trying to wait for that tag. I don't know, Raj, if you saw what I saw, but, it was the quintessential Enzo and Cash match where Enzo gets slapped around for half an hour, then the hot tag, and then Cass comes in and cleans house. But when Cass was trying to get that hot tag and he's just bouncing around side to side, it just didn't feel right to me. Did you guys notice that too?
And I was selling it with the little spirit fingers there. You were doing that
jazz hands
corner. Yeah, no, that was great.
Yeah, I think this looks like it's leading to a split. And yeah, I don't know if that does either of them any favors, but you can see Cass was a little frustrated at the end of the match, was kind of looking at Enzo like, what are you doing? And they didn't pay too much attention to it, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they're headed, but it doesn't, I just don't see it helping either of them out if they do that.
I was shocked with the finish with Enzo's leg on the rope, how quickly that was done. Normally when they do interference like that or want to have a finish that is in question, they do it very theatrically. So you can clearly see, but I remember where there was Gallows or Anderson that just walking by, took his foot off the rope, set it down, just kept going, boom. It was like blink and you missed it.
It was genius.
Yeah.
I think that was a genius end to it where, Gallows and Anderson kept the belts but I just can't believe how WWE's booking these guys. I mean, they've been around the world, phenomenal tag team. They come to the E and all of a sudden they feel like they're somewhere muddy down, spinning their wheels. They're not as, I don't know. Is it me, or do they just lack that it factor in the WWE that they've had around the world? And I'm scratching my head trying to figure out where is the thing for them. Yeah, I don't know what the word is, the pow factor, the it factor, but it just seems like they don't have it here right now.
Well, I think part of that is just the environment. You can't be like this intense, kind of raw, gritty team in this WWE environment,
The tag teams are just a sideshow. It's like all novelty acts, practically.
Right? Yeah. There's nothing gritty at all with the tag team division. So yeah,
it's like Metallica, touring with Weird Al and Colin Storm and Jonathan Colton. It's like one of these things really doesn't fit, man.
Yeah, a few of those things didn't fit.
Well, the other tour was a solid tour, but I'm just saying that I think that's the issue. And I kept thinking tonight, because it's been 10 months now since they first debuted in the WWE. I mean, a year ago we were hearing the rumblings that they were coming, and it's just amazing if you look at all the predictions for what the club coming to WWE were going to be and how it's played out. It's just really amazing.
Yeah, well, I think fans do that with anyone coming in WWE, right? Whenever someone's going to come, they're like, "Oh, it's going to be the best thing ever," and really, there's only a handful of people that actually kind of live up to that potential that fans kind of set up for him. I think AJ was one. He didn't start off.
Oh yeah.
He's had great matches, but he lost his first WrestleMania match. And, he was losing a lot there at the beginning before they put him in the world title picture. So you see that a lot where people come in, fans want to see him pushed, and, the E doesn't do that.
Yeah. So we went from that to Sasha versus Nia Jax. So Raj, what did you think of this tonight and how they made Nia look even though Sasha won?
I thought the end was good. It was slow when Nia was on offense, which was most of the match. But I thought they built to it well. You could tell the fans were Nia's offense looked bad. You could tell the fans were kind of getting impatient when Nia was on offense. But the finish was good, and it was, I guess you could say it was kind of a surprise if you use the math. Nia got the win on Raw last Monday, so she was the one most likely to be losing tonight. But I thought it was all right.
Dennis?
I love the way they made Nia look. She had the big girl movement, where not big girl but like the big guy movement, slow, methodical. She kind of stayed in the center of the ring. They really protected her in this match, and I felt like this was the best she's looked in months to me, in all honesty. She was on offensive lot, and they really made her go over strong. I'm okay with the quick roll-up one on a big person when you want to, whether it's a big guy or the big show. I'm okay with the small, quick roll-up package. It gives me the believability that, they use their height, their strength against them, quick in and out of the ring, and you still kind of protect them. But Nia, I was impressed. I loved that slow match. I really felt like it fit her, and they protected her, because in past she's trying to, lumber around the ring, and she just didn't look right. And tonight, it seemed like the moons aligned for Nia Jax, and I really felt like this is the kind of Nia Jax matches I want to see in the future from her.
I agree with that, except for her losing. I thought that it was important in the grand scheme of things, especially if we're going to have a 4-way match at Mania, to have Nia win and just look as strong as possible in this. So I was really surprised, especially in light of Bayley retaining later in the night. I thought that was
spoiler alert.
Yes. Anyone that's listening to this, I'm hoping that you either said, you know what, I'm not watching this tonight. I heard it was terrible. I want to recap, or you just watched it and you came here. Whoa, why is everything going up? Sorry, pop-up audio people. So I hope anyone watching this either wants, a support system, a support group to come to, or that they just want to skip this whole thing altogether. But yeah, I thought Sasha winning was an interesting way to go. Not what I predicted was going to happen tonight, similar to what Raj said. So if you're thinking, hey, this was the first hour of the pay-per-view, what a nice pace this had. It moved along quickly. It was called Fastlane. Then they said, let's pump the brakes a second and give you about an hour of stuff you don't really care about. Starting with Cesaro versus Jinder Mahal. Raj, the pre-show set this up, right? That was how they came about this idea to inject such a stoppage into the pay-per-view.
Yeah, Jinder, man, he is looking like freakishly veiny.
Wow.
Yes.
Like, I think he's more ripped than anyone on that roster now. I mean, is there anyone else you could think of that's anyway, he's shredded to a degree that he's never been before. But so they set that up earlier. This had to have been the longest Jinder Mahal singles match in WWE ever. I unless there was something on Superstars. So yeah, it was weird. I don't know if they decided to start pushing him a little, even though he lost, just maybe because of his physique. But it was and
it was a fine match too. It was just no build up, no story.
It was a fine match, but when you've been presenting him like a jobber for a decade, fans don't want to see a long match from someone like that. And granted, if you want to push him, that's fine, but work it up instead of just throwing in a 12-minute match out of nowhere. So I thought the work in the match was fine, but the fans were bored and it really hurt. I mean, I felt like the pacing of the show kind of went off the rails here.
It became an episode of Raw at this point.
Right.
Yeah. Dennis?
See, I'll be honest, I loved it. I cannot disagree with you guys more here. I hated the lead up. I even hated the fact that, Mahal threw Rusev over the railing. It took Rusev like 12 minutes to get it. To me, I was a little lost on, Rusev being out that long, and all of a sudden he staggers to his feet. But you look at that match, and it made Cesaro look strong. There were a couple spots where Cesaro, what was it? Picked him up in the side suplex, and Mahal planked on him. Other than that, it was a fun match for me. I was all in it. And when you kind of heard the fans start chanting the boring, and I was like, are we watching the same two matches? Because
because it's expectations. It's expectations. You came there to see a card that was determined ahead of time. And hey, let's flash back to that pre-show. Remember that thing that was an hour that had one match that occurred during it? Why couldn't this have been there?
I get it, man. That placement was a little off for me.
Yeah.
But if you were to just kind of take it out of context, and if I said, Glenn, watch this match, and I threw it up, you'd have went, wow, that's a great match. I still think that could have been a great match. I was having fun with it. I lost interest and felt the same way on that second end of this match. That's how
Rusev and Big Show.
Yeah, it was
like. Yeah, to go back to the music analogy, I went and saw Pearl Jam once, and Neil Young came out, and it turned into a Neil Young concert. That's not what I bought my ticket for. That's why the audience responded the way they did.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's how you've been building this guy forever, and then to make them sit for that long through this match. I mean, like I said, I agreed with you. I thought the work was fine and everything. I thought the match itself was fine. And if it had a different audio track and like the fans were going crazy, it would have been a good match, but the fans just did not care, and that hurt it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about what followed it. Big Show versus Rusev. So Dennis, this one you did not like as much.
I did not like it. Big Show looks like a ripoff of Mark Henry right now with those tights. Like he's getting shredded, but he looks like a board now. There's no butt, there's no stomach. It's just straight up and down. And to me, he just doesn't look right in the ring right now, just aesthetically. I mean, he's moving around great. He's looking good. But guys, when you see him in the side view, there's no curves there to the guy. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but when he came out, I you know what? Here's the thing. When after Rusev threw Jinder out and beat him up, and then Big Show came out, I totally forgot there was a second match coming to this at that point. I was like, what's Big Show doing there? I was kind of confused. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Glenn?
Okay, so the idea that they announced, because I
feel weird talking about the Big Show's curves.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry about that.
I'm just saying, if you're putting time in the gym, I'm just saying it's the complete package, Big Show. It's not just about your vanity muscles. Remember, we have to see you from behind, even though you look at the mirror in the front.
Do some squats.
Simple math. No, look, I read about this, I believe, on the Wrestling Inc. social media feed that the Rusev and Jinder were going to get singles matches. I assumed it would be against each other, right?
That's what I thought, yeah.
Better way to do this, economy of storytelling, knock it out in one shot. And then when we saw Cesaro and Sheamus come out, I was like, oh, okay, Rusev will go up against Sheamus. It'll work. So for me, it was a surprise when Big Show showed up, and it was a pleasant one in that Big Show versus Rusev. Sure, I think that could be an enjoyable match and entertaining, and it was okay. But is Big Show versus Shaq still happening, even with all this? I mean, is this chatter just part of building the match?
I don't think so. Yeah. No, it's looking like it's legitimately not happening.
Big Show versus Rusev could be okay. I could see them doing something with that.
Do you remember? And that's the thing with this match is all I could think about was just how far Rusev has fallen. Remember, Big Show was destroyed by Rusev when Rusev was getting that big push, and Big Show was one of his victims, and Rusev just destroyed the guy, and now he's kind of comedy fodder to getting beaten by Big Show. So he's fallen a long way, and that's unfortunate because I think he's really good. But yeah, I don't know what they do at WrestleMania. I mean, I almost I feel like you could do something with Braun Strowman and make it add a stipulation, because that match did well on Raw and it was well received. But like we mentioned before, and same thing with Samoa Joe, they don't have many spots open for the WrestleMania card. They have like 10 or 11 matches already set, and most WrestleManias have 8, 9, maybe 10. So they're already kind of maxed out.
Yeah. Do you think they'll go interbrand on the IC title and maybe add a stipulation whoever wins is the brand it goes to?
No, I don't think so. I would think they would just keep that separate, and because they're going to have a U.S. title match, so I wouldn't see why you'd put.
Oh yeah. So maybe. Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, there was a spot open with Shaq out. So, I think, and Strowman doesn't have anything unless he just, dominates the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. So we'll see.
Big Show versus all of the cruiserweights. All of them. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought the match was okay. The question, the pacing of it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think pay-per-views aren't where you necessarily, I mean, you want to bring storylines to a peak or bring them to an end and their conclusion. And you can use those conclusions to launch new storylines, but to try and launch two completely new storylines in the middle of a pay-per-view with no build-up to me seemed very strange for it to be guys of Jinder and Rusev's stature. I could understand if this was, an A-list talent trying to launch something new, but it just seems strange to do this in the middle to me.
Yeah, they do that sometimes with these single branded pay-per-views, since they don't have the, if you didn't have those two matches and you took out the New Day segment, that's like 45 minutes right there. So the pay-per-view's, a little over 2 hours.
This could have been a great 2-hour pay-per-view.
Hey, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have minded that, but their thinking is it's got to be around the 3-hour mark. So
beyond the 3-hour mark, and they made us wait for what? Oh, good Lord. Okay, so the match that had the unfortunate position of following those two randomly added matches was Neville versus Jack Gallagher. I know we sometimes talk about what's lacking in the cruiserweight department in terms of audience reaction and entertainment value, but I really enjoyed this match. And it was one of those where, regardless of who I wanted to win, I was fine with the outcome because I was thoroughly entertained by the match. Dennis, how about you?
This has to be the first cruiserweight match I was emotionally invested in. I cared about. Every time I've been on the Wrestling Inc. podcast, I don't even want to talk about the segments on Raw. This was great, and from the bell to bell, I was entertained. They had some amazing spots, and I'm not a Jack fan at all. I don't like his look. I just don't like him. Neville by far is the most talented cruiserweight they have, but they sold Jack. They sold Aaron. I was in on this match. I don't know if it was, like I said, you just got done with like 22 minutes of boringness and boom, this came in to save it. But whatever the mathematical equation that they figured out in this pay-per-view for the cruiserweights, do it again, because you put on matches like this and maybe right after a boring match or on a pay-per-view that up until the Jinder Mahal stuff was a pretty good pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah.
This cruiserweight fit in great, and I liked it a lot.
Raj?
I thought this match was great. I thought this was the best match on the show.
The headbutts. Jack with the
wow.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Dennis, as far as Jack Gallagher. He is a little over the top for me at times. Like I like the gentleman British, gimmick, but he sometimes takes it too far to where it's hard to take him serious. But I thought he looked tough as nails in this match, and you're kind of almost rooting for the guy by the end. So I thought this was really good. Neville looked great. Best match on the show.
If he would just stop doing the corner handstand thing where he drops one leg down and everybody's confused, I think he would have something. But every time he does that, I go, really, guys, you can't really figure out which left leg, right leg is going to come down. Just slap the blank out of him and keep moving.
And I want to back up a second to Raj's statement. Best match of the pay-per-view, match of the night. I'm trying to think now between a match that I didn't disagree, I didn't dispute the outcome of or have some sort of issue with. I thought this delivered, and they built it up really, really well. Want to pivot for a second and talk about the postscript to this, which is Austin Aries with airing those promos once during the pre-show with this. So they're setting it up, I'm assuming, for Aries versus Neville for Mania, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they would have done something tonight, maybe tomorrow on Raw, but that was at least something that had been talked about, was Aries versus Neville. Aries is great. It's the sad part about him, returning to the ring is that he won't be on commentary. But he was bragging about his package, which I thought was that was special.
Pushing the limits of what they can get away with.
Aries, he sneaks in those things that you just got to pay attention. But he's a lot of fun to listen to. But I think that would be a fun match. Aries versus Neville.
So one bit of misdirection tonight. Charlie Caruso backstage with Paul Heyman. Dennis, did you think that Lesnar interference was imminent in that main event tonight?
No, I didn't. I wish for anything but that match to happen. I prayed that there was a lightning bolt that went in and blew out the TV cameras. That there could have been anything to stop what we saw happen. Unfortunately, it didn't, and we were forced to sit through that. And as you kept watching the time go down and down. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. But I thought it was great that Heyman was there. I love the way he sold. They didn't really care who wins, because at the end of whoever wins this match, they're going to be the winner. So I did like that little bit of a break. I love Paul Heyman on the mic anyways.
Did you notice Charlie took over the social media lounge? I don't know if you guys caught that on the pre-show from Tom Phillips. And Booker T, stopped Charlie when she was, starting the social media lounge. And was like, "Where is that dirty bird, Tom Phillips?" And she said basically that he graciously handed over the segment to her. So I don't know if it's just that segment, or we'll have to see if he's on SmackDown this week.
Yeah. Well, he was on last week, and that was after the story broke. So I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. I think they probably just thought it would be a distraction. Like, don't have people tweeting at Tom Phillips, because they're going to have to filter through all of those.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting tonight. So after that, we had the segment with New Day, and that was the point where I was like, okay, this is just Sunday Night Raw at this point. I mean, it's got everything, right? And I mean, this didn't advance anything except the idea that New Day ice cream bars are coming, right? Did I miss anything here?
It was painful.
That was it.
This might have been the first New Day thing I couldn't care less about.
Old Day, Dennis. Old Day was the
right.
New Day
That was the
segment.
worst.
That was
Old
the
Bird
bottom.
and Old Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought Big E was pretty funny, but that was it. Yeah, I already forgot that the segment happened.
Yeah, it was it was something. So why did they do all this? Why did they take up an hour? Man, had it just been, could you imagine how we've been watching those first three matches, then it had gone right to Gallagher versus Neville, and then right from that to Reigns versus Strowman. Oh, what a beautiful pay-per-view it would have been. So we're going to talk about there were really three main events tonight, in my opinion. I mean, these last three matches were the ones to tune in for. And we're going to talk about all of them in a moment. But first, I want to take a moment and give some love to one of the sponsors of this episode, SLAM Crate, WWE SLAM Crate, powered by Loot Crate. You've heard us talk about it before. SLAM Crate is a bi-monthly box for the WWE Universe, and it is loaded with exclusive and authentic collectibles, plus apparel you can't get anywhere else. We've shown you in the past there were limited edition AJ Styles shirts, limited edition Enzo and Cash shirts, limited edition Seth Rollins shirt in this most exclusive, this most recent crate that came out. Each crate is handpicked and created by Loot Crate and contains over $60 in value. And we have got a deal for you. When you go to our link, lootcrate.com/WrestlingINC, you are going to save $3 off your first shipment. It's awesome. It comes every other month, over $60 in value. The cost is under $30 per crate. And it is just a fantastic deal if you like WWE merchandise. We've shown it off before, some of the great stuff you can get in these. My favorite thing that came in the most recent one, and I love this because I've been looking for something like this. It's a replica WWE Championship belt, but it's a fanny pack, and it's like a slim fanny pack. I was actually looking for a fanny pack that did not look like a fanny pack, and I absolutely I'll be honest, I'm gonna wear this inside out when I go, like backwards front when I go to the gym and whatnot. I won't wear the belt part, but I love that it's the belt. So at least in, the privacy of my office, I can hold it up like I'm the champion. I can sling it over my shoulder and, carry like Luna bars or Cliff bars in it or something like that. Of course, other stuff that's coming there, we've had like Bailey Bears, Mitch the Plant, Sasha Banks sunglasses, limited edition WWE trading cards, posters. There's a poster of The Undertaker in the most recent one. You get a bunch of stuff. It's not just one item. You get a crazy amount of merch in every shipment, and it's like a present for yourself if you're a wrestling fan or if you want to give it as a gift to the wrestling fans in your life. Go to lootcrate.com/WrestlingInc, sign up and use our code WrestlingInc to take advantage of this. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. Also want to thank the other sponsor of this episode, which is DDPY, DDP Yoga. They've changed countless lives, many of the past and current roster. Guys like Jake Roberts, Scott Hall, Chris Jericho, Mick Foley, Goldust. They've benefited crazy from DDP Yoga. And if you've been thinking about taking control of your health and fitness now that we're in March, people, March 2017, we've got a deal for you. You can get 3 months of full access to the DDP Yoga Now app for 25% off, or you could buy any of the DVDs and get a bonus with that of 3 months of full access to the DDP Yoga Now app for 25% off. Also got a deal where you can buy a max or combo pack at 25% off, get 50% off the second one. If you've been on the fence about starting it, get started. Order these DVDs, order your access to the app, get started today because now is the best time to get on board. Head on over to ddpyoga.com/WrestlingINC. Stop procrastinating. Get started now with DDP Yoga. We thank them for sponsoring the show and congratulate Diamond Dallas Page on his induction to the WWE Hall of Fame coming up in just 1 month at WrestleMania. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. DDP Yoga, DDPY, and we thank them for sponsoring the show.
Glenn, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go for it.
You were talking about you were looking for a fanny pack. Why?
Yes.
I feel like the WrestlingINC universe would be mad at me if I didn't ask you what circumstances in your life do you need a fanny pack for?
Because I travel, I go to a lot of outdoor concerts and festivals, and you don't want to carry a backpack. And I've got clothing made by a company called Scotty Vest, and it's got like all these hidden pockets, and it's crazy. You can fit like an iPad, a bottle of water, all this stuff, and they're going to weigh you down a lot. So I've been thinking about, look, I just need something I can hold my phone, my keys, my wallet, a couple basic things, and this way travel out and about, but I want something slim profile. And that's what I couldn't find. Everything looked like an old school fanny pack from the, the early 90s, but I love that they sent this slimline one. And the fact it's a WWE belt is all the better. Now, you had to have been a subscriber to get that in Slam Crate, but they just have cool surprises every month. So if you've been on the fence about signing up, I highly recommend it.
There was that interview with Charlotte in there too. And you mentioned the Topps trading cards, right?
Yeah, some limited edition Topps cards.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a bunch of cool stuff. The fanny pack, man, I wish like you remember in Seinfeld, the Merce or whatever, the man purse. I wish you could have something like that because I hate in the summer when I'm wearing my shorts and I got my wallet, my keys, and my phone all in my pockets, and they get all bulky. So it'd be cool if the fanny pack could get back in style.
Well, that's what I like about it. It's like it's a comfortable in between a money belt, which just holds money, and a fanny pack, which looks ridiculous. This is the perfect medium between the two.
I can't wear something Scott Steiner still wears.
Yeah, that was a favorite with wrestlers.
Yeah,
a lot of wrestlers. A ton of them would wear them.
Yeah, but no, I was stoked for that to have shown up. So let's talk about these main events while the chat here just keeps going on and on about the uncoolness of fanny packs. But hey, Mick Foley and wrestlers, all of them can't be wrong.
Well, Mick Foley, you saw his shirt, right?
Which one?
The one he was wearing tonight.
Oh yeah, that looked like something came out of Enzo's wardrobe.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that segment briefly. I was expecting more shenanigans without Stephanie McMahon there, but I have a theory about how that's going to play out for tomorrow night in regards to the Bayley match that we could talk about. Because I thought it was interesting when they do this, Stephanie's not there.
Right. I'm sure she's not going to be happy that Sasha interfered, and we'll get on Foley's case about it.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a new GM before WrestleMania at this pace. So Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman. This is the match it's been building to all this time. I've used this to describe a lot of the matches that Reigns has been in against guys like Ambrose and Rollins, and even Finn Balor, where they're these knockdown, drag out Batman versus Superman style matches. And tonight, it was like Superman versus King Kong. I thought it was just a fantastic match. My issue with it is the ending. Because we've talked about so much. For the last 8 months, Mr. Matt Morgan's been talking about, Raj, you've been talking about it with Braun Strowman, 8 months of building this guy up to be an unstoppable monster. And that ended tonight at the hands of one Mr. Roman Reigns. So Raj, I'll go to you first. What did you think of the match? And what did you think of that decision to end it that way without anything shady or dusty or any interference?
I thought the match was really good. Again, Roman, his in-ring work is always underrated because like in the Wrestling Observer voting, he got most overrated, which yes, he is the most pushed, pushed beyond, how fans see him and the response he gets. But in the ring, he's solid. And his matches are always good. And he pulled this off. I thought it was a really good match. I just don't think he should have beat Braun already. It's not like it necessarily is going to hurt him too much. I just think that his first pinfall loss, it should be something big, not on a B show.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that case, I felt like they shouldn't have beaten him just yet.
Dennis, how about you?
This is when we did the SmackDown show earlier this week, I made a joke about who was the third Wyatt family member I'm forgetting about right now.
Eric Rowan?
The second one, I'm sorry. Not Rowan, but
Harper.
I made a joke that Harper could become the Brooklyn Brawler, and then everybody, jumped on my case about that. But, guys, this is what I'm talking about. They're not going to do that to Strowman, but I wouldn't be shocked in 6 months if all the big guys are beating Strowman and we go, remember that one time Strowman was pushed? They built him up for this moment. It was a head scratcher, and you could have still had Strowman win and make Reigns look good. Or, if you put a loss on Reigns here, and you beat him pretty good, you might have been able to get some fan favor behind him if you would have just had Strowman pound him into the ground after the match and, get the fans booing. This is how you get the cheap heat. They bypassed it. If you're trying to get fans to, cheer Roman Reigns, you have to put Roman Reigns in a vulnerable situation, which they're not going to do. That's my complaint here.
Yeah, I mean, they have been kicking Roman's ass every week, for like the last month. So I'm not surprised that they went this route. But yeah, I agree. I think it probably would have done. It would have been more of a benefit to have him lose here. But you know what? This is and to your point, Dennis, about how you could see other people beating Braun. It's not a big deal now. I mean, that's what happens all the time. They were building Rusev. Remember, he was indestructible, and then he lost to John Cena at WrestleMania and been downhill ever since. Same thing with Bray Wyatt up until just now. Once he was undefeated, unbeatable until WrestleMania, lost to John Cena, and then just kind of floundered for a few years. So yeah, I mean, I could see that happening. Just the only thing is Braun is so big, and Vince loves that look, that I don't see him falling quite as much as those guys. But it's definitely not going to be special for him to lose now.
Yeah, I mean, just why here? Why now? Why to Roman Reigns? That's really, I mean, we knew it was.
No, Roman is the chosen one. So if they're going to have him lose to anyone, it's either going to be Roman or Lesnar. I mean,
and we're going to have Roman maybe retire the Undertaker at WrestleMania. I mean, does Vince just not? I think Vince just doesn't care. I mean, we always hear that, I'll tell the fans what to think. But I mean, I think this is him just going out with a flaming middle finger towards maybe the internet wrestling community.
Oh, who should beat the Undertaker though?
I don't know.
Sami Zayn. I mean, at least
no.
Yeah.
I mean,
so at least
Roman
cool. Is like is more believable in that role as opposed to some of these other guys.
He'll never get another chair again if he retires Undertaker. This, depending on if they were gonna push Roman Reigns as a mega heel, I would have him do this. But if they're trying to get Roman Reigns to be the new John Cena, the face of the company, the good guy, you do not have him anywhere near the Undertaker at WrestleMania. I'd tell him to stay home and be in Connecticut when just stay out of the state.
Well, maybe they are turning him heel, because that would make sense. If you are turning him heel, that would be the way to do it, right?
That's the only way you make that match happen.
I mean, that would be huge if he turned heel, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, of the current guys, though, I mean, look, if it was Cena that retired him, even if it was Bray Wyatt that retired him, it would be like, oh, well, okay, there's kind of a connective tissue there.
Bray Wyatt is way overrated. He's such a fan favorite with the IWC, but his matches are not usually that good on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And, his promos are they just ramble. He's been doing the same promo.
He has been doing the same shtick since NXT.
Yeah.
He watched Cape Fear one weekend in a documentary on Charles Manson and was like, I got this. And just basically has been regurgitating the same thing ever since. But I mean, but that's the thing. You can't have a guy like AJ Styles do it, because Taker can't keep up with someone like AJ Styles. I mean, that would just be.
It would be AJ would have to pull a Shawn Michaels and basically work around it. And he could do it. I mean, AJ versus Undertaker would be good, but if it's Undertaker's last match, they're not going to have AJ beat Undertaker. So it's just like having Undertaker beat AJ, I feel like doesn't do anyone any favors.
Yeah. Why don't we do this? Why don't we throw the Undertaker in a triple threat match with Lesnar and Goldberg? And then we can all say, look, there's over 2,000 years of wrestling in this ring right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Jerry Lawler wanted.
Yeah.
He said that in an interview. He wanted a three-way with Taker, Lesnar, and Goldberg.
Yeah, I don't know. But I thought this tonight was good. I thought it was a good match, just except for that ending. Because with Roman, and Roman's had the year now where, I mean, he's had his ups and downs the past year with his wellness policy violation, and the diminished standing he had for a while after that, where, yeah, I just think that him being the chosen one. So what? I mean, after WrestleMania, basically Reigns is going to then defeat Lesnar or Goldberg or whoever has the belt and become the Universal Champion. I mean, is that preordained at this point?
I would think so. I would guess that's the way they go. But things happen.
Yeah.
Nakamura goes to Raw and super hot.
I don't think Vince McMahon is going to ever favor Nakamura over Roman Reigns.
No, not favor, but you can keep them. You don't want to just have Reigns with the title the whole time. So you got to have. They went with Finn Balor, so I can't see them having Finn Balor beat Lesnar, but yeah, Reigns, Nakamura. I mean, they're the ones that, and Braun. They're the ones that make the most sense. My guess is they'd go with Braun after WrestleMania, chasing Lesnar.
Yeah. Well, okay, so speaking of surprises, though, and not doing what's predictable, tonight Bayley retained over Charlotte and did it in the most interesting way. So Charlotte's pay-per-view streak ended on Fastlane, won 16 consecutive pay-per-views until Fastlane, not WrestleMania, the one that everyone predicted would make the absolute most sense. But we had an interesting match, a lot of back and forth. A little bit, I'm not sure what Bayley was doing in the corner at that spot near the end.
Ugh. Yeah,
there was just some weirdness. I don't want to say like a botch, but just some nothing was really maybe working as intended. And then we had the run in from Sasha. So sort of a questionable ending to it. But I mean, Dennis, what did you think of this matchup and the way it played out and then Charlotte's streak ending?
What's the WWE thinking? They blew this from day one when they put the belt on Bayley now and not at WrestleMania, and you could build up to that feel-good confetti moment and everybody's crying. They blew it. They blew it when they kept it on her, and now Sasha comes out, and I kind of almost walked away going, boy, Bayley's almost a heel winning with interference after she's taken everybody to task, and whether she saw it or not, the fingers in the air thing. And then you don't really turn Sasha. Like when Sasha came out, interfered, I kept going, all right, here's the moment where she attacks. Here's the moment where she attacks. She's not, what? And then, they walk off and I'm left going, why, what? You didn't protect anybody in this match. You didn't protect Sasha. You didn't protect Bayley. You didn't protect Charlotte.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. The fans were turning on Bayley by the end. Because she's cheating. She's, needing outside help, and there's no DQ, which just boggles the mind that they don't call, for a disqualification. And you end Charlotte's pay-per-view streak on a B show that, is something you've been pushing for a little while. So didn't make any sense. The only thing I could think of with Bayley is she was losing steam. So they felt like they needed to get the title on her sooner than later because she was losing steam. But yeah, I think it would have made more sense. And plus, maybe they felt like they didn't have anything else. So yeah, we'll see. WrestleMania, it's supposed to be a 4-way with Nia Jax, Sasha, Charlotte, and Bayley. The big, I would have assumed that they did it like a double disqualification or something, and then have Bayley pin Charlotte at Mania, ending that streak and going from there. But they didn't.
Bayley reminds me of if I had to put a title of old school wrestler on her, she would be the Coco Beware of today, where she was flashy. The fans loved her, but she was just there to set up and help move other wrestlers on. There's nothing to me. They did a great job of making Alexa Bliss or selling me that Alexa Bliss is a legitimate champion. They've done quite the opposite for Bayley, and it's almost like, hey, look at me. I've got the tassels. I'm Coco Beware. And I just can't believe that she's a champion. It's not feasible to me.
All they had to do was repeat, and it seemed like they were going to do this at first, just repeat exactly what happened on NXT. Or morph that into the Daniel Bryan storyline of going on to become the champion. I mean, there was a very clear template out there, and somehow they managed to screw it up by going steps ahead. And now having, I don't want to say that, with the crowd reaction, the crowd turning on her, it's like becoming the inadvertent heel, like not even realizing that she's doing it. I think is an interesting angle to take. My prediction is tomorrow night with the Stephanie McMahon thing. Stephanie nullifies the win and schedules a rematch tomorrow on Monday Night Raw. I think there's going to be some, because if you think about what they tried to do with Stephanie, getting her to hand the belt back and all that, I think there will be some sort of administrative interference tomorrow night to try and make it seem like tonight does not go in the record books as a legit win.
And the problem is, guess who has two thumbs and won't care? This guy. I'm out of the storyline. I want to be back in, but I don't know what they could do. Next.
I could see that. So her pay-per-view record stays intact.
Yeah.
By reversing it. I could see them doing that. They got a title match announced for Ross tomorrow night. It'll be Neville against Rich Swann. So whether they do two or have it lead to setting up the WrestleMania match, we'll see.
It's a cruiserweight title match.
What did I say?
No, Neville versus Rich Swann. I'm saying that's a cruiserweight title match. I don't think the Raw team is like, well, we got the cruiserweight title guys, so that pretty much excludes any other title happening.
Right. Yeah. But I see that more leading to something with Foley, but we'll see.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, if you are unhappy about that, let me tell you about what followed. At this point, we're getting to the stage of the night where it looked like, hey, this is going to be over by 8:00. We're going to have a 10-minute little match between Goldberg and KO here. And they swerved us in perhaps the worst possible way. Goldberg did his long entrance. KO came out. Then KO did the chicken ass heel thing, got out of the ring. It was like, okay, maybe this is how they're going to drag it out to a respectable length for 5 minutes. Gets back in, and shorter than Goldberg's win over Lesnar, we got a spear, a jackhammer, and a pin because Chris Jericho's music hit, and KO was so distracted and distraught by that Goldberg was able to take him out in, I wasn't even counting, but what, about 15 seconds?
Chris, who did a great job with covering this on Twitter tonight, he had it clocked at 21.65 seconds.
Oh, man. So I tweeted this. I think if Vince McMahon had just come out, grabbed the belt from Kevin Owens and handed it to Goldberg, it would have been a more satisfying and entertaining segment than what we actually saw. How do you make heads or tails of this, Raj? What are your thoughts?
I was pretty much expecting this. I figured that they don't want Owens to look tougher than Lesnar. They're building this, Superman versus Batman match at WrestleMania. And you don't want to have Goldberg squash Lesnar easily and then have a hard time with Owens. So I was expecting it. I thought it might go longer than 21 seconds, but I didn't think it would go 2 minutes. And that was the Twitter poll, was if the match would go 2 minutes. And I think like a third of the people said over. So most people predicted under. And that's what you got. Hey, I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's what I expected. That's their booking, is this monster versus monster mega match. And you don't have Owens kicking the shit out of Goldberg for a 10-minute match and a back and forth to set it up that way.
Dennis?
It makes me sick. I've said from day one, I've not been a big fan. So basically, WWE, what you're telling me is now any old school wrestler that wants to show his children that he could be a champion can walk in and beat the top guy like that. You know what I do, Vince? If Goldberg wanted to show his kid, look, I could be a champion, tell him to get the network and watch old matches. There's no reason that a guy that's almost 55, 50-something should walk into the WWE, no matter how dominant he was 15, 20 years ago, and just start taking out your top guys. Because in a month or so, when he's gone, if that, you're going to have to get the belt on him. And then you're going to have to explain to me why this guy who all of a sudden comes back so dominant is gone again at, oddly enough, in his 50s, the height of his career now. I might be talking crazy here, but it was stupid. This whole thing is stupid. This Goldberg thing should have gone no further than Lesnar Part 1 or Part 2, and then you should have washed your hands of the situation. This is what makes wrestling fans mad, is when you do BS like this. Let's be honest. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a wrestling fan. I love wrestling. And now you're trying to bring back some of these old guys and make them champions. It's stupid to me.
It might be stupid to you, but he the Raw ratings were sinking, like under 3 million. And once Goldberg came back, they moved back up. Now, I do agree that WWE is in this pattern of where they only see these older guys as the stars, and they're not giving the younger talent wins over these established veterans, except for Roman Reigns. And it's a problem. And that's the problem every year you see around WrestleMania, is that the perceived stars are the guys that are part-timers or, aren't working, many shows. And so the guys that are take a back seat. And then after WrestleMania, they're just not seen as that big, that big of a star because of how they were treated heading into it. So
let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you guys this real legitimate question. Could we see Kevin Owens one day doing a CM Punk? Just go, you know what? I'm putting my body on the line. I'm here every day. And now you want me the job to like Batista or Goldberg? Screw you guys. I'm out. Does this hurt their rep?
He's got kids, which is why I think he's less inclined to do it. CM Punk has a odd self-destructive streak where he can legitimately not care because he doesn't have to, and I'm assuming and CM Punk made pre-network pay-per-view money. I don't think Kevin Owens is making out quite as well. That's just my hunch on it.
It's you're someone making a point about casual fans disappearing more every year, which is true. You're getting more and more to where the hardcore fans are becoming the larger percentage of your fan base, and they're going to keep watching regardless of what they do. What's funny. And again, I'm not saying I agree with this, but this is what they do, and they don't. The hardcores keep watching, and what's funny is there is so much more activity right now going on Twitter and even our site after this pay-per-view than there was with Elimination Chamber, which was a good show. And you see this a lot where the bad shows get a lot more activity, a lot more comments, a lot more tweets than the good shows do. So, but yeah, it's where they're going. Kevin Owens and Jericho at Mania for the U.S. title, and yeah, that's too bad.
Well, and Owens and Jericho, I absolutely think that's going to be fantastic. I mean, here's my thing about this tonight is, look, I assumed Goldberg was going to win. It makes sense with what, we've heard they want to do with Goldberg versus Lesnar at Mania. But I thought tonight we were going to see, okay, Lesnar's had these nothing matches, or not Lesnar, pardon me, Goldberg's had these nothing matches against Lesnar. I thought we were at least going to see, okay, Goldberg can earn it. Goldberg can do a competent match that's a couple minutes to whet our appetites for the idea that at Mania we're going to see a real match between Goldberg and Lesnar. Tonight was going to be the warm-up for that. I think everyone online was saying a 5 to 10 minute match would have been satisfactory. They would have done a little bit of storytelling with it. Maybe Jericho interfered, so Owens still looked protected with his credibility. I mean, I assumed that was going to happen. Then I thought that would be a satisfactory ending for where they wanted to take things. So, but to go with this, I just thought was just like really insulting.
I assumed it would. I didn't think it was going to go longer in the Lesnar match because you don't want Owens looking tougher than Lesnar in their eyes.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. That's. I mean, we've been saying for months that Goldberg was going to be winning here. If he did in a nothing match, at least they gave Owens that he was distracted by Jericho as opposed to 100% clean. But I hate distraction finishes by music too. So
yeah, I mean, that's kind of a weird conveyance. That's like the idea, Raj, you could hear a loud sound outside, turn around, and at that point you're just completely vulnerable
right
for like the next 2 minutes. Someone could get like a car alarm could have gone off in the parking lot. And
Seth Rollins, he lost his Royal Rumble title shot because of music.
Yeah, it's just so silly.
Not title shot, but his shot in the Royal Rumble.
So silly that they do this. If Jericho had interfered, that would have been great, and that would have set the storyline more in motion. I just and coming off of everything else we saw tonight, to have this as like the cherry on top of a crap sundae was not what the fans were wanting at that point. I think it was a chance to redeem the night rather than...
You say that, though, the arena itself was all for Goldberg.
Yeah.
Is that legit, or is that the old WCW trick where they're pumping into Goldberg chants through the loudspeakers?
That's legit.
That makes me sad for the people there. Like deep down inside, I want to just go to each and every one of the fans in Milwaukee and hug them. Go, you deserve better than this.
It was a weird crowd tonight in that way. So they like the cruiserweights. They loved Sami Zayn and were singing along to the entrance music and doing the olays. They loved Enzo and Cass. They were doing the cheapest xenophobic heel heat on Jinder and the stupid USA chants. I mean, it was a very audience participation crowd tonight, it seemed like. And Brock Lesnar guy was there, which is so distracting to me every time I see him there. It's like, oh, hey, Brock Lesnar guy is there once again.
It's like the one Hulk Hogan guy that used to show up everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. All right. So put a grade on it. What do you guys think?
God, you know what? Since this is being, recorded minutes after the pay-per-view and I haven't truly had a chance to digest it, I'll give it a B. And here's why, guys. I'm probably grading it higher. Ultimately, my complaints are my complaints, and the crowd loved it. This was way better than anything Raw has put out in weeks. And this could be a good launching point to maybe Raw ratings down the line. The whole pay-per-view was not crap. I'd even say over half the pay-per-view was good. And the bad was not terrible. It was just, really? You guys went that direction? So I'd give it a solid B.
Yeah, I would say I'm more towards a C-, in that I thought there were some good moments, but just some bad booking, some bad payoffs. And to your point, Dennis, what was it, Raw 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago? We had the amazing Raw with the Festival of Friendship and that breakup. Mm-hmm. I look at it as that launched off. That episode was great, and it launched off the stories to where we are tonight. And I feel like it's like a comic book series where the first issue I thought was A+, and then I got to the 12th issue, and it was like, oh, really? This is how it ends? So that's my frustration with it. And I'm very worried about where we're going towards WrestleMania right now. So I'm gonna say C- for tonight.
I'll probably give a C+. Like I said, most of this is stuff that I expected. So not much surprised me except for Roman pinning Braun clean. I thought was a little surprising.
And that's crazy. And I'm not even like a huge Braun fan. And this isn't about like Roman hate. It's just about like, okay, if you're going to commit to Braun Strowman being this monster and you've committed to that for the last 8 months, just why? Why now? Why sell this out now on Fastlane?
Obviously, we know it was a rumor now, but how into it, or how much did you believe that The Undertaker was going to interfere in that match?
I mean, I said it weeks ago. It just didn't make sense to me because they don't have that personal issue yet to where it seemed like he would need to interfere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't seem heated enough between them for that he would need to show up and cost Roman a match. But it was weird, and it's something I posted before the pay-per-view went off the air. The DVD cover on Amazon in the UK for Fastlane has Brock Lesnar and Undertaker on it with Goldberg. So after that, I thought it. After seeing that, I was like, oh, maybe they are going to have the Undertaker appear tonight. But he is going to be on Raw tomorrow.
Okay, well that's something. And so that's the thing. Raw tomorrow night could steer the course for this, put us on a better path. I'm curious to see how they respond to this tomorrow night, because I mean they monitor social media, they see the reactions. I'm curious how they spin the story going forward.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Cool guys. So we'll be back here tomorrow night. Mr. Matt Morgan will be.
Oh wait, we got to talk about the Hardys.
Oh yeah. The Hardys are not going to WWE.
At least not anytime soon is what it looks like. That's what Dave Meltzer was reporting on Wrestling Observer Radio, that their deal with Ring of Honor is not just for a few weeks until WrestleMania, but they're there for a while. So
good.
So yeah, that's the Hardys back in ROH. They won the ROH World Tag Team titles. Obviously they're getting, paid a lot. I always wonder with ROH, just because they don't have the, they're on syndication. It's kind of hard to find. They don't have that national cable TV deal. So, if the Hardys make a difference on their pay-per-views and attendance, then it'll be worth it. But you don't have the kind of television that TNA did to where you could do a lot of these wacky angles and things like that. Plus, that doesn't really fit in with ROH. So,
yeah.
But it's the best thing that can happen to them, because I when I was on the show, was it earlier this week, I said, if they go to the WWE, it's not going to be the same. Even if they went back to their old, neon Hardys Extreme, they're not the same guys, and you can't do the same angle that they generated, the same personalities, and pull it off in the WWE. The production's different. They'd overdo it. This is the best thing to do to protect who they are and what they built, is by just kind of staying in the smaller, companies right now, and just build off of it, because you jump too soon up to WWE, it will undo everything you've done the last couple of years.
Well, I think, obviously the schedule and everything is a big deal for them. And if WWE really wanted them, I would have just done a thing where they come in for like a few months through SummerSlam, work on the main roster, do something with the New Day or something, whoever, and then send them to NXT. And because NXT needs something. They've been kind of on the decline, and I think it would pop that, generate interest in NXT. The Hardys get the schedule that they wanted. You could still use Jeff here and there for world title feuds and things like that. So I think it would have worked out well in that sense. But yeah, I think honestly for the Hardys, I thought Impact would have been the best deal for them, because they created these characters there. But now with the whole regime change, so much has changed. These tapings are completely different. If you've read the spoilers, they're so different than the last set. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they end up in WWE eventually, or they're just satisfied without having to work that schedule. I mean, you heard Rebby Hardy. She was on Busted Open, and she was just talking about how TNA was just so perfect, that situation. So they love that schedule and being able to make their creative decisions and having creative control. So it definitely means a lot. And they wouldn't have that in the WWE.
Cool. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, they're in a Ring of Honor. It looks
Bubba Ray Dudley also signed with ROH.
Wow.
So yeah, he appeared last night at their show in Manhattan, and yeah, so they got the Bubba Ray and the Hardys.
I didn't sign with them, just so you guys.
Dennis is not signed with ROH.
No, not yet. Nope.
Cool, man. So we'll be back here tomorrow night to talk about Monday Night Raw, the fallout from Fastlane on the road to WrestleMania. Wednesday, we'll be here to talk about SmackDown Live, the fallout from Randy Orton burning down the Wyatt compound.
Well, he's facing AJ Styles, and the winner of that gets the title shot against Bray Wyatt.
Amazing that is happening on SmackDown. That is a pay-per-view level match. I'm shocked they're doing that on SmackDown this week, since it has not happened before. But I'm looking forward to it. I was thinking about today. I'm like, 3 days of wrestling coming up. What am I looking forward to the most? SmackDown Live.
Well, this week is the week where they start turning things up, like with all the WrestleMania stuff. So Undertaker's back. Orton versus Styles, which I believe that's their first time ever.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun to watch.
Cool, man. We'll be back here 24 hours live talking about Monday Night Raw with Mr. Matt Morgan. Find out how that Impact Wrestling stuff's working out for him. And I get to ask him the question that popped into my head tonight watching Roman and Braun locking up there, which is, how much does it suck to have another dude's sweat just dripping on you? That's what I want Matt to really give me some insight into. Because one thing, sweating is not a pleasant thing, but with someone else's sweat, that's got to be worse, right?
Wow. You and I felt bad talking about Big Show's curves. You beat me.
Yeah. I'm just saying that looked uncomfortable on multiple levels, especially because they're hairy dudes, man. Like, my beard gets too long. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There's a lot of positions that wrestlers get into that I wouldn't want to go in, but hey, it's part of the job.
Yeah, we'll get to the bottom last, Matt, about fanny packs.
And then Wednesday, it's Glenn and I with Wade Keller of the Pro Wrestling Torch. So he'll be joining us on Wednesday.
Awesome, man. So in the meantime, rate and review the show. Look in the show notes. Follow me on Twitter if you want more interesting insights into the world of fanny packs. podcasts, and professional wrestling. Follow our guest Dennis here. Follow Raj. All of our links are in the show notes on Wrestling Inc. And until next time, folks, I'm Glenn Rubenstein, and we will see you back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.